So from my personal experience, what I've noticed is there are two main types of people who use Affinity products. The first is anybody who has used Adobe in the past but is tired of their shenanigans and wants to get out from underneath that foot on the neck of having to rent software every single month. The second are people who are pretty inexperienced to design, don't really have any idea know what they're doing, and they don't want to invest a lot of money into a particular type of software. They know they need to have this thing to be able to make stuff for themselves, but they don't want to spend a lot of money. And then they jump into Affinity and they come to realize pretty quickly that it's not basic software. Contrary to what the Adobe pros will tell you, Affinity is pro-level stuff. And if you're not familiar with pro-level software, well, then you might find yourself a little bit flummoxed from the fact that you've opened up this software and you don't know what to do. It's this type of person we're going to be talking to today because somebody reached out to me and asked me for a favor. One of the viewers, another guy by the name of Dave, recently purchased a copy of Affinity Publisher and got into it and realized he had no idea what he was doing. He wants to design some flyers for his business, but he has no idea where to start, no idea where to go. He's downloaded a couple of templates and they just befuddle him. So he asked me for help. Can you design a flyer, Dave, so that I can see how you would do it? And of course I thought to myself, yes, we can do that. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? My name is Dave Connery. I'm an artist designer based in Southern California, and today we're building a flyer in Affinity Publisher, and we're going to do it as simply and quickly as we possibly can so that it's not a mystery to anybody who doesn't know anything about the program. We're going to strip it down, make it as easy as we possibly can, while still teaching some design fundamentals and maybe giving some tips about how to get it done quick. Absolutely no nonsense, something that looks good, something that reads well, and have a little bit of fun while we're doing it. So a little bit of backstory about this flyer. Dave runs a drone company, like a drone media company. At least he's part of a drone media company. And I'm guessing he added an aspect to his business that he wants to promote with a flyer. And so we're going to help him build that flyer. Or rather, I'm going to build something and then he can take that and run with it if he wants. I'm not here going to make this flyer for him. I'm going to make a flyer and then give him the basics so that he can take that and run with it. Or you can take it and run with it. Into the screen. First things first, starting a document. I'm just going to use a single letter size page here, the imperial letter size page, which is 8.5 by 11. I'm going to make this two sides because I'm not sure if this is just going to be a single sheet that gets left on like doorsteps, or if it gets dropped into an envelope, or it's actually going to be folded, tri-folded, and then put the address on there. Not facing pages because it isn't facing pages. They are opposing pages, and there's only two, so we're just going to leave it as unfacing pages or normal pages. I'm going to go ahead and make it CMYK for our purposes, because if he's getting it printed traditionally through a print house, then CMYK is what he's going to need. I'm going to change my margins to just, let's say, just 0.5 all the way around the room. I'm not going to make this one with a bleed because I don't think it's necessary. You can make it with a bleed if you did want to push some images off to the side, but you don't have to. Then I'm going to hit create. Where are my pages? There's my pages. Now, Dave runs a very specialized type of business, and he's got the name of his town in the name of that business, and I'm not going to use that name at all because, it would be really easy for anybody to just go look up Dave and his business in the name of that town, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make up a name. I'm just going to drag a type tool out and zoom in a little bit here so I can see what I'm doing. Increase this box. I'm going to call it Top Shot Aerial, if I can spell it, media. Let's go ahead and enlarge that, and although it is aerial, it's not going to be for long. I go to our standard Helvetic for now until I can figure out what I want to do with it. As Dave expressed it to me, he wants to build a flyer that focuses on roof repair or roof inspection with his aerial media service. And so what I'm guessing is that he has a drone, he flies it over the roof, and he says, oh, you've got this happening on the roof. It's probably advantageous to homes that are 2-3 stories, and you don't want to get a ladder up there. It's too dangerous. So he just brings the drone out here, goes and does an aerial view of the roof, and checks it out and says, hey, looks like you've got a rat's nest up there and they're going in through that pipe or something like that, or you've got some serious damage from the hurricane or whatever. He wants to focus on that. And so I thought to myself, like, what would be a really quick representation of that so that people understand that this is exactly what type of work he does? What I thought immediately is, like, let's be very direct with this image. Let's be super specific about this so that people know exactly what we're talking about. I already found an image through the stock program, and yes, I did use Unsplash and drag it in. It's a little big, but I want it. I kind of want it big. That's what I wanted. Come on. Oh, I do this all the time. Hold on. Convert to picture frame. When you bring in an image from the stock palette, it just comes in as it's one image, and then it doesn't have a frame around it. It's just the image itself. So I wanted to make sure I have a frame. So this is a problem I've dealt with before with Affinity. Whenever you bring in an image and then you convert it to a picture frame like that, you have to double click it and then move it around a little bit, because if you were just to click it and try to move it, then you would just get this. And we don't want that. So double click it. After I've already moved it, now I can move the picture frame. I don't know why it does that. It's a really weird little glitchy thing that Affinity does, but it is what it is right now. Hopefully they'll get it fixed in the future. I'm only going to focus on the house. That's really all I need. I don't know if I want it this linear. In fact, actually, now that I think about that, I think I'm gonna experiment with direction on this right now. I'm just gonna go. I'm going to expand the size of this image quite a bit. It probably might be stretching the parameters of this particular image. Actually, let's go like this. And you can see the boundaries of that image are further out because of that these gray lines here. It's looking a little too, just putting it like this looks too linear to me. So I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to rotate it a little bit. Kind of like that. I want to kind of show that there's a detail happening. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a picture frame. I'm going to go drag a circular ellipse tool picture frame like this. I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back to that frame here, the circle frame, and I'm going to paste into, and I think I got to come up here to that, paste inside. Now it's hard to see what's going on there, so I'm going to move it around. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to zoom in with this photo, resize it, move it around. I'm trying to get to this little nook right here, and I'm going to bring that kind of over here like this. Put a stroke around this. Let's see, where's my stroke? A triangle tool, or a triangle, and I'm going to bring that in like that. I want to remove the fill, rotate this here like this. What I'm trying to do is kind of like get that telescoping look. I'm going to make sure I bring that to front. Layer, where is it? Arrangement, arrange, transform, arrange. There we go. Move to front. And maybe actually what I'll do is I'll fill this with a white, but I will back down the opacity a little bit so that it kind of adds a little aspect of like, hey, that's what we're looking at down there. And I'll put a framer on this one too. 3.5, boom. Now I'm going to group these two together. Actually 3, right? Group those together just so I have them. And if I go to my layers, which are here, why are they down there? I don't know. I move things around in my palettes and they're all over the place. So anyway, so I've got that. I am going to change that and say house. I'm actually going to break these in 2 different lines. Bring up my text palette, character palette. We're just going to deal with the characters. Decorations. I think where is it? The typography. There it is. All caps. That's that little button right down there. That 2 capitalized T's next to each other is all caps. Fix my kerning. Get a little bit tight and snug. A little cozy. Now, of course, he would be bringing in his own logo, here. So, that's his business. You do what you want, Dave. I do have borders here, and I'm completely outside them with the other thing, but that's okay. Maybe that's what I need to do is I need to bring my stroke on the inside as opposed to the outside. Make sure I get it as large as I can out here to the edge. Looks like I need to get that down and then move this. I'm just going to tighten up the tracking on this one. Not the tracking, excuse me, the leading on this one. It's not going to let me go any further for some reason. Don't know what's going on there, but whatever. And I'm going to bring that out like there. Again, we're not trying to win any design awards here. Get down and I'm going to go even further out. That's weird. I don't know why it won't allow me to go up any higher. That's so strange. It won't let me do any more leading than what's already here. That's so weird. That's so strange. Okay, so then what that means is we're going to have to make an adjustment here. I'm just going to cut that out of that one. Make another box. Make another text box by dragging the text tool, this one here, and dragging that out. And then I did cut and paste. There we go. I'm not particularly loving the distance between these two. Like this one's like super wide and this one's not, and it doesn't look quite right. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reduce this down and I'm going to open it up. When I line these up, there's this gap here in the T, and so even though I'm lined up here between that part of the T and this part of the A, it looks weird because what's really close by is that. And the same goes over here. This A matching up to that T just looks weird. So we're gonna line up to the other side of the grid, or another part of the grid, which is right there. Right? And then I know I'm gonna go to right there, and again, not going super exact. Now, people who are potentially using this service may not necessarily know what it is that Dave does. Doesn't know how he gets these shots. What do? Do you fly a plane overhead? You got a blimp? They may not know what a drone is. So would it be advantageous to throw in some sort of like idea of what a drone is in here? Possibly, maybe. I'm not going to do that here. I don't want to go digging for a drone illustration. And I'm sure Dave has one. If he wants to use that, then he can. So I'm going to just reset the borders here. As you can see, they're curved, so that means they're sitting to the outside. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to set it to the inside and set it good and sharp. Do the same. I guess it did it to all of them. I was thinking about this. I was thinking, okay, well, Top Shot Aerial Media doesn't really tell the story. It doesn't 100% share what it is. And sure, I could drop in a drone there, but it still might not, people might not know exactly what's going on here. So what I want to do is I'm going to bring in another bar of text. And I'm going to line it again up there. Specializing in drone-based roof inspections. That might be a super oversimplification again. And I'm going to change this to italics just to make it a little bit different than what we've already got going on. It's probably bigger than we need, but I'm going to bring that down, tighten up the tracking, the difference between tracking and kerning. If anybody isn't aware, tracking is when I tighten up the space in a word. So if I'm doing the whole word, I'm tracking it. And by what I'm doing here, guys, is I'm holding down the Option key, or probably the Alt key on PC, and I'm hitting the left and right arrows. And that is creating this situation like that. And I've done it so much now that I probably ruined that one. So we're just going to set those back to 0 just so I can get it back here. All this stuff is up in here too. So this up here is your kerning. The one here that's, if you can see it, it's got the V/A. That's your kerning. This one down below is the tracking. I'm going to go that to auto. And I'm going to line this one actually up. Where is my paragraph tool? Paragraph. There we go. I'm going to align this to the right so that it goes like, zoom in again, line it like that. Anyway, so as I was saying, tracking is when I decrease the space between all the letters in a particular word, or all the words in a particular line. Kerning is if I go in individually into these little spaces here, and I move and I tighten up those little spaces. That's the difference. I'm also going to reduce this down because I kind of want it to match up with that media. So I'm going to bring it down in size. I might be getting a little small in size there, actually. So I think actually I'm going to go the opposite way. That gap there between aerial and media kind of freaks me out a little bit. So I'm gonna increase the size of my typeface, and yeah, I don't know. That gap is still really weird. In fact, I'm going to tighten that up because it's too much. That gap was just too much and was a little bit disconnected. Now, when I'm increasing the size of the typeface there by using key commands. I apologize for rushing through that a little bit because that's actually something that it's just so ingrained in me. I can't stop myself from doing it. But basically, I'm playing around with the size of the type, the size of the letters themselves, the spacing of the letters, The most important part here is understanding that what I'm going for is I'm just trying to create a cohesiveness. Like I said, it was too small when I had it down big enough to fit there with media. I didn't like that. So I'm going to, I don't know, it's feeling a little weird. I feel like I should align it to this side because of the frame here. But we'll just do it. We'll just do it like that. We'll go with it. So I'm going to increase the size a bit. Another thing to note is that you can adjust type in a couple of different places. You can do it down here in your character palette, your paragraph palette. You can adjust your settings there, or you can also do it up here for most, if not all, of the things that you need to do. So now I'm going to break out another box, another type box, and type frame rather, and I'm going to type this over here. And I'm just going to start bullet pointing some of the features and benefits of what's going on. We've got a paragraph situation where it's got it separated here. Now this is kind of a default thing with Affinity Publisher, and kind of drives me nuts that they do this, but you might notice that every time I hit a hard return, it puts this space between the line above it, and that is down here in this paragraph palette. You find the paragraph palette. If you don't see the paragraph palette, you go up to View, you go to Studio, and then you look for Paragraph. Where is it? Right there. And that will show you this. But as you can see, that right here, there is this number written 12 points. And what that's basically saying is that there is supposed to be a gap from one line to the next of 12 points. And this was, it's basically saying space after a paragraph. The other one would be here, which is space before a paragraph. It's basically, just depends on how you want to do it, but it essentially does the same job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just eliminate that, make that 0. Now, if I was using type styles and I fixed this, then it would fix it all over the place. It didn't. I was only selecting one line, so I got to go back in and just change that all to 0. What's going to happen is I'm going to select some of this and I'm going to turn that into a bullet point. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that right now. I'm selecting the type that will be a bullet point. And then I'm going to come back over here to text styles. Let's move our layers out of the way. And again, if you can't find it, View, Studio, text styles. And essentially this is basically for anybody who doesn't know what this is about. It's essentially saying, I want to apply a standardized idea to this type. And I want to be able to do that across my entire document wherever I see it. And if I want to make changes to it in the future, or even as I'm starting to work on this, I want to change it up, but I don't want to do it one at a time, then I can change this style. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to click this bullet one right here. And you can see it just went ahead and applied that style. Now that's way too big. Okay, so it did add that 12 points back in there. I'm going to go ahead again, change that to 0. Okay, I'm going to reduce my size down. This is the better way to do this, actually. This is really the more fluid way to do this. I'm going to change that type size down to, I don't know where it was at. Was that 10? Let's try it at 10. What does this say? This one is at 9.3. Okay, so then what we want, let's just do it all to 10, just to be, actually we'll do 9.5. And now what you'll see is we go over here to type styles, and it's not gonna be the same. If I clicked on bullet one more time, it would go back to what it was. So what I want to do is I want to come over here to these 3 lines with this little arrow next to it, and I'm going to go and update bullet 1. So now what that means is what's happening is it's updating that type style to match what is already here. So I can apply any type style I want. Test this, right? And I change it to line above. I'm not going to, actually, we'll go initial words. And I don't like that, I don't want that. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Let's see, let's change that to bold. We'll bring that down to make that 16 or 15 or whatever that is. And now if I do that, update it, right? And so the next time, test again. Well, okay, so it's already got it attached to it, but let's see, let's go no style, right? That's no style. And then I go back to initial words, and it's exactly what it was here. That's the basic of type styles. I have a whole video on that if you want to go in there, so I will link to that up there, and then it'll be in the description too if you want to go deeper into that. I do want to add a little bit of space after this one, but I don't want it to be as big as I had it before. So we're going to change this to actually do 8 instead. And so now I've got this gap that will always be there no matter how many times I try to hard return, it'll always be there. And if I hard return off of this paragraph, it will take those properties into the next paragraph and so on and so forth. Maybe I need to bump up the size on this to make it a little bit more interesting. Let's say I do want to make that more visible. Take that up to 12 and take that up to bold. My words here are not the best. I don't know the marketing points of Dave's business. I'm just kind of rolling with it. If I had some time to really copyright this, it would come out a lot better. We're just playing around with it. One other thing I was thinking is that, this is only one aspect of his business, and if somebody did come across this flyer and they thought this was the only aspect of his business, maybe he would do something else. And we're gonna get a little cheesy here. We're gonna go and I don't recommend this normally, but we're gonna go Star Tool, and we're gonna go up here and change our points to something like that, and our not curved edges. We need our radius to be bigger, like that. And you can also make these adjustments here, but you can see these little red dots. If I move these and adjust them, you can do some pretty cool stuff. Crazy stuff like that. That's pretty much any one of these little vector shapes here. Let's see. I want a stroke, and I definitely want full opacity. And I'm going to make this yellow. Make a new text box. I'm going to go real. I think I'm typing in yellow here. Hold on. Let's go to our layers. Oh, that's why. That. I'm going to center this. I'm going to bold it. Oh, it's still Arial. How to get back to Arial? Get away from me, Arial. Go home. Oops. Nope. And we'll rotate it here a little bit. I don't like the rotation. And I think I am going to stack it. I want it to take up more space. I want it to fill more space on there. Now, normally I wouldn't center line much stuff, but just to stay congruous with what I've got going on here, make sure these two are aligned. I'm going to select them both by holding the command and clicking both, and then going up here to this little thing that looks like an alignment here, and then I'm going to select that one right there in the middle. Now, if they were lined left or right, then I would, do it this way or that way. These ones here, it's like if I had multiple items, like say 3 or more, and I wanted them all to have an equal gap between them or an equal arrangement left or right, then I would click on that, but that's not what we're working on here. Now I can turn that as much as I want if I wanted. Real estate agents. And then finally, I'm going to copy this one because I want to maintain this sizing and all the characteristics of this. And I'm going to say top shot aerial media. I feel like I can make that one bigger. Let's make it a little bigger. Fill that gap. Some other things I would think that he would probably want to include, maybe contractor or licensed and bonded. Let's see. Whoa, that was weird. Oh, I don't know why it went back up, but licensed and bonded. Contractor number U550342. I don't know. 343. And then FAA license number GOV 9992325. I don't know. I'm just making that up as I go. Now, I don't know why these came in at the other size. They shouldn't be doing that, but let's go. Let's see what we got here. Let me just make sure that I had this still on my type styles. Make sure I had that as it should be. Update bullet 1. Okay, so why did this come in bigger? Weird. I don't know why I did that. There we go. Fixed it. I don't know why I did that. Shouldn't do that, but yeah, let's make sure they stay on the same lane, same line. Ah, that still looks weird, huh? Still looks a little weird. I guess it's just because of the all caps or whatever. So I'm gonna loosen that up just a tad. Maybe too much. Quite a bit too much actually, because I know I'm at my border right there. And we're gonna line this one up like that. And oh, of course, droneyourhome.com. That's not a real thing, but whatever. So I'm lining this up with that. This. Ah, if it'll let me. Jeez, come on. See, I'm actually a little bit low. A little bit low. So let's see what we can do about that. A little bit, so it just looks a little bit more aligned. Still looks a little bit too tight, so I'm going to bring, actually, let's go in there and let's find that part of the group. I'm going to bring that box down a little bit so I can bring this, so I can bring this down, this one up a little bit. Just to create, like I said before, continuity. Now, if I wanted to go in here and I knew this was going to become a trifold, and all it really was is that he was going to fold it in half and then put a mailer thing on the thing there. Let's say I would go in here and I'm just going to take this one here. I'm going to split the page into 3s. The way I easily define the thirds of a particular page is I'll grab a table and I'll just drag it out. And I don't want it to be, I just need 3 like that, and then I can drag these all the way down. Come on. Oh my goodness. It can be temperamental. My clicks can be temperamental. So now I know that that's a third and that's a third, so I'm just going to drag a line there, and I'm going to drag a line there. And so when you fold in thirds, this middle section is usually a little bit bigger. So I'm not too worried about being, the right size, as long as it's no smaller than this. Get rid of that graph because I don't need that. Move this to the other side of the room, which basically just means I'm going to, where is it? Right there. And let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, Main Street, Ogden, Utah. Now I know UPS or the Postal Service does not like phone numbers and websites up here in the address. They just want no nonsense stuff. So I'm just gonna drag a copy of that. Select it all by going Command A, and I cut and paste, or I cut the other stuff out of there, and now I'm going to delete and then paste. Command V, Command C, that kind of thing. There you go. That's simple. A little box there for the stamp. Let's make that a 0. Make that stroke. Nope, stroke. Let's say. So there you go. So now you'd fold this side. You could fold that side. Now, if you wanted to be really efficient, you can go and add some more details here. Add some more stuff here. Let me go ahead and get rid of my layers. Let's bring this into here again. Down there. So he could add some stuff here as a trifold, add some stuff down here if you wanted. But really it's this. Have this on the doorstep, leave it on the doorstep, drop it off with different people and whoever, and there you go. That's one way to do it. Now, I rushed through it, and of course, being, somebody who's been doing this for years and years and years, there's certain aspects of this that I just kind of, I bang it out. I just bang it out. So essentially what it comes down to is type boxes, picture boxes, and just playing around with the alignment. Keep it simple. Stick to 1 or 2 typefaces. Don't get crazy. As you noticed, I really, everything here is Helvetica, except for that one time that I tried to drop Arial in. Arial tried to sneak in. We fixed that. Everything here is Helvetica to keep it simple. It's super clean, it's super easy. You don't have to use a Helvetica. You can use any typeface you want, just as long as it's something cool and good and not like cheeseball. Don't use Papyrus. Don't use Comic Sans. Don't use, I mean, you can, yeah, Times New Roman gets a bad rap. You can use Arial too if you want. I don't care. Use Arial. I don't like it. You can use it to your heart's content. Just make sure it's appropriate for your business, for your product, or whatever it is that you're trying to produce here. Now, I could have done something really rock and roll and really hardcore if I wanted to, but I don't feel like it works for this. I think it really just comes down to simply playing around. So the first thing I would do is I would go in here and I would create the file, create the space, drag in a text box, and just start playing around with type. Type something in there, and then bring out this character palette here, and bring out this paragraph palette here, and just go through this and just see what all of these things do. Get yourself familiarized with all of these settings. And that way you have a better understanding of what's going on. Now again, type tools, there's two different types of type tools. You've got, this is the type frame, right? Frame text tool, and this is the artistic text tool. The big difference is one creates a box that you type into. The other one is just type. So if I'm on this, the artistic one, it's such a weird name, but it just creates the type. I can just type, but it'll be a straight line. As far as I want to type, it'll just keep going and going and going. But if I do the frame text tool, then I create the frame and all the type stays within the frame. Different things for different reasons. You just play with it to your heart's content, see what you come up with as the best thing. Images, you know, just drag and drop your images, or you can also go in here, create one of these frame tools here, these picture frame tools, drop it in. Let's see. No, that's not what I wanted. Grab the picture frame tool. You can't really see it, but I'm dragging one in there. Right, I've got a picture frame tool. Now if I drop that picture in there, it's going to go in as it thinks about it. It's going to go into that box. Make sure I'm on my selector, right? Let's bring these back over here so you can see what's going on. So yeah, so I've got that image just like that. I could do it with this one here, the rectangular. I could do the circular. I could just bring in an image just like that, but that's not going to have a picture frame around it. If you want to be able to adjust the, you know, recrop and whatever your image, then you're going to want the frame. If you don't want the frame, if you just want to bring the whole image in, then you can just bring in an image. Clicking on that, you can go find your image and you can drop it in. Anyway, so there you go. That's basically, that's a flyer. That's a simple, basic flyer. In fact, Dave, I'm going to go ahead and email you this file so that you can use it to your benefit. Just, you know, like change it to your whatever you see fit, and hopefully that works. And if anybody else wants to use it, well, I mean, you can follow along in the video. I'm not going to send this thing out to everybody else. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. It went a little bit longer than I expected, but that's okay. I hope you got some value out of that. That right there was building a flyer in Affinity Publisher, the quick and not so easy way, but still quicker and easier than doing a really super complex one that I could do, but maybe that's for another time. If you have any questions about what I did, and I'm sure there will be, if you have any questions about what I just did there, make sure you go down to the comments and drop them in there. Can't promise that I'll be able to answer them all, and I can't say that I'm going to make a video about every single one, because I probably won't, but maybe. It could happen. Happened for Dave, could happen for you. While you're headed down there, make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, you could try and do that too. And if you get a chance, share this with some appropriate homies who might appreciate what we're talking about here today. And on that note, I'm going to get out. Folks, remember, be good today, be even better tomorrow. See ya.